Now let's have a look at a feature that helps you implement a planning process every day. Because from our own experience, and we have used this for many years now, it helps a lot that every day you just take a very few minutes to look over your day, what you've done and what you want to do tomorrow. And just by spending very few minutes, this will make you much more productive because you have a better overview and you can follow a plan. It can be a very vague plan. It doesn't have to be very strict, but just having some form of planning helps you a lot and makes you more successful. So for that, we have this day planning feature that you can activate on the day view by pressing G and N or hitting that icon. So I can go G and N and it will go through a few steps. So the first step is just to review your day, which means, well, as you can read here, we look on over our day, we see what did we achieve, what went well, what could have been better. So it just asks some questions where we see, well, how did I do my planning? How did my day go? And what to do with the tasks that are part of my task list. So first of all, I want to change the status of all the tasks that have been done. So for example, I press enter if I just cross out some tasks that has been done, and everything that's still open, I typically want to, well, do something with it. For example, I ask the keyboard help here. Well, I can also cancel a task. What does this mean? If I press X, then it's different. It's kind of crossed out. Why? Because that means I didn't get to it. I didn't successfully finish that task. And then I typically, well, want to decide what to do with the tasks that are still open. So for example, instead of canceling it, I could also copy it then to another day. For example, I didn't get to it today. I want to do it tomorrow. And then it's still there because of history reasons, so that I see I did actually plan for it, but I didn't get to it. So that's very similar to what you would do on a paper time planner. And then I will see that for the next day, it will be there. But that's fine. Now I want to see about today. Also, I want to have a look at what I actually did spend my time on. So for example, if my work project was actually from 9 to, let's say from 9 to 11, and this task was also earlier, but there was another meeting at 2, for example, then I can just adjust accordingly. So the idea is that everything in the past should then kind of be adjusted to what I actually spent my time on. And by doing so, I can look into these statistics down there to see what was my original time planning and what was the actual time that I spent on. And by doing that, I get a better idea of how my day went. And if we've done all of it, so if we accounted for all of the open things, I can go to the next step. So then I can go and press the dot for selecting this control area and just press enter for going to step 2. Okay, now I want to resolve all the open ends, and this is really helpful to get a better overview to what is up next and to not forget anything. For example, it means going through all of your email inboxes. You can, for example, implement inbox 0 by doing so. You just go through everything and you don't have to do it. You just have to sort it into something. For example, go through all of your paper notes, the notes that you write on paper if you do so, or if you use an external note-taking application, if you have some inboxes such as email inboxes or other messaging apps. Just go through all of the things that are still open, and you don't have to do them. You just have to, well, take the information somewhere. And a good place to do this is this backlogs view. For example, for something that is not planned for a specific time, or to directly insert that into a day. For example, to create a day task for a specific day. What I can do here, now I have something in my inbox that gathered during the day, and I can go and move this, pressing M to move it to, well, to do one time. It's not important now, it's important some other time. Or I could go and assign something to a day, some other task. Let's assign something to a specific day by pressing NT, and then, for example, tomorrow I want to do that as well. And then I could now archive this here in the inbox, or delete it even if it's just a small thing, I don't want to see it again. And then I resolve all the open ends by doing so. So that regards this backlogs view here, but all other inboxes as well that you have. And then I can move on to the next step by pressing dot. I could go back with backspace and press enter. And then step 3, what are the 3 most important tasks tomorrow? And this is a very important question to ask. And just by doing that, I promise you, you will get more productive, because it really asks us, well, besides all of the things that come to us during the day, what is it really that we would like to spend our time on, and what would move us forward? So what is an important thing? Not necessarily an urgent thing, but an important thing to do. What would move us forward? So what is it from the top of our head, just without, reading something else? We could, for example, add something to our task list and then already sort that by priority. Or I could also take some tasks of this week, so all of the tasks that I do this week, and we will do week planning in the next video, to quickly assign them. For example, if for my week I already planned to work on some specific project, I can just press enter like it is described here to add this. Or I want to fix that critical bug tomorrow, or I want to do some Japanese reading to improve that. I can also change the name here by pressing NT. It is the same like enter, but I can edit the name then. For example, just write Japanese, and then the task. These are the tasks for the day. I can change them and, as always, resort them according to the priority. So that is important, that I just say, well, what is the most important thing, second important thing, and then third most important thing. And I shouldn't have too many of these, because otherwise it won't get done typically. I can add some smaller things as well. And then these are the important tasks for tomorrow. So just from the top of my head, without thinking too much about it, what would move me forward? What is something that I would like to spend my time on? What is also important or helpful, if we, after sorting my priorities, if we assign some time budgets, which means how long do we actually want to work on that specific task? Let's say for 2 hours, and you saw I can also jump here with the numbers. For example, I say, well, 9 and write 9 hours or 1 hour or 1.5 hours I would like to spend on working on the project, fixing that bug. Another half an hour of Japanese. And you don't have to select them for all of the tasks, especially for some short tasks, but it just helps you to get an understanding, how much time do I actually have? Because if I have 2 4-hour tasks, this actually might be a little bit too much for your day. And then I can select this control by pressing dot and enter. And now I can go and that's a very important step, assign some time in my timeline, which means that I already block and reserve the time for what is important to me. So for example, there might already be a meeting for 1.5 hours, but besides that, I really want to reserve and block the time for the things that are important. So this is very similar to what we've seen before in the videos. By just assigning a time for a task, I can select a specific task, press NR, and say, well, for 2 hours, because I planned 2 hours in the morning from 8 to 10, I would like to work on this project. And then afterwards, maybe with half an hour of a break, I would like to fix that critical bug, and so on and so forth. Have some other tasks then later on, and I would like to assign time for all of these tasks. And as you see now, this is the helpful thing about the keyboard usability. This is now really helpful, that I can use this quite quickly and just with the keyboard go through all of these things to say, well, I would like to do Japanese in the evening, and then contact that person. I don't have to assign all of the tasks, but all the important ones or the longer going ones should be reserved in my timeline. Otherwise, by experience, they just don't happen. And then with that, I can also leave some space. So that's actually very important, to leave enough buffer. So my personal criteria is to only plan around 60% of my day, especially 60% of the working hours, to just not to be overwhelmed, and also to add an end of day deadline, where afterwards I say something like end of day planning, for example, for, let's say, do this before Japanese for half an hour at 6:30. where then afterwards I wrap it up. I do the day planning again for the next day, do the review and the planning then for the next working day. And then afterwards, well, I'm finished. So with that, it's really important to look over this timeline and to ask ourselves, does this make sense? So really, is this helpful? Is this achievable? And what is helpful here is, first of all, to see the whole timeline, but also to see the statistics of how much we planned and assigned. So if my plan was to work on so and so much and the assignment doesn't match, then we see, well, that's actually too many hours in total already, or that something like that would not work, just to see, does that make sense? And if that is the case, that we assigned everything here for our day, we can move forward. And then there's another feature to just have a look at the next 2 days. So for example, if there would be something inserted here, my calendar there is still empty, that's good. But then we would see that there is a meeting here and another important thing there, but that's luckily a weekend here. Then I would see, well, is there something that I need to account for? And this is really helpful if we just know that nothing will fall off the table. Because you see, well, that is my plan for tomorrow, but actually there's something coming up here on Saturday or maybe on Sunday, Monday, and so on. This helps me to know that I don't forget anything, because then I can account it for and also include it maybe for the planning for tomorrow, if then I need to see, oh, actually there's something on Monday that I need to account for. So that is very helpful as well. And then we can move forward by reviewing our plan. So that is, again, asking the question, does that make sense? From experience, we know, well, actually, if I work on that for, let's say, 4 hours in a row, this might not be the best time, or maybe I'm not really productive in the morning or not in the afternoon. For me, it's the other way around, which is I plan stuff usually in the morning because I know, well, in the afternoon I get tired, I need a break. So does that make sense for you? Is it feasible? Did you leave enough buffers? Did you assign the high value things, the ones that you really want to get done at the right time? And this is a very helpful step that just from experience helps you to get more effective by not being, productive 100% of the time, because that won't work, but by basically asking the question, does this plan for tomorrow make sense for me? Looking at all things included. And if you do that, that will make you more productive and you will feel balanced. It's not just that it stresses you out, you actually have a balanced and successful day. And if all of that is then done, I can press enter one more time and then I'm finished with my day planning. And now I planned the next day already. So I inserted all of these elements and I reviewed today, the current day, and I see that all of my tasks are being accounted for, and I included the next things for the next day. And with that, I just know that I didn't forget anything. So I accounted for everything. I looked through my inboxes, through all my notes for the things that are upcoming. And that's a very important feeling, to just be sure that we don't forget about anything. And that process of doing day planning helps us a lot. And that's why we included this feature.